From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, November 15th. Beautiful day ahead, mostly sunny skies, dry and mild. Temps are going to be in the middle 60s for the afternoon, which is about 10 to 15 degrees above normal. Local UAW members are not on strike this morning after reaching a last-minute deal with Allison Transmission. Negotiations went past the midnight deadline this morning when the collective bargaining agreement was supposed to expire. But a union representative tells News 8 Allison and the UAW extended the current agreement. Both organizations are still working on a permanent solution. Around 1,700 employees had planned to hit the picket line today if the deal hadn't been reached. Just stay with us here at News 8. We'll continue to update you on air and online at wishtv.com. Newly released body camera video is giving new insight into two shootings by Indianapolis police. The first happened September 19th, prompted by a call from a woman who said her ex-boyfriend, Eric Taylor, was threatening to kill her and her children and was following her. Police met with the woman at a gas station and say they started chasing Taylor as he drove by. At an apartment complex near Stop 10 in Madison, there is some video of Taylor getting out of the car with a gun, officers repeatedly telling him to drop it, but he refuses and tells police to shoot him. As Taylor moves around the car, one officer fires, wounding Taylor. Taylor died at the hospital. Police say the full investigation could take a year. The other shooting happened 3 days later near Lucas Oil Stadium. It started with a robbery at a downtown dollar store. Police say the suspects fled, and officers found them in a car on Missouri Street. Investigators say Ariana Morris was driving. Rick Tez Williams was the passenger. As officers used a netting system called a grappler to stop the car, they say Williams fired at them and the officers fired back, hitting both Morris and Williams. Williams died. Morris survived and is due in court later this month. Police say Williams was using a gun stolen last year. We have all of this plus the videos on wishtv.com. A study out of IU is uncovering disparities in policing in 21 major U.S. cities, including Indianapolis. Researchers used smartphone data to track how police spend time in certain neighborhoods. The IU study, led by Kate Christensen, used special phone data from almost 10,000 police officers. Christensen says studies looked at things like crime, how many people live in an area, and how much money people have. After checking all these things, they still found that police spend more time patrolling neighborhoods where most people are Black, Hispanic, or Asian. Researchers used anonymous phone data to pinpoint where officers traveled during patrols and when they left their vehicles. On average, the research indicated that for every 1% increase in the Black population, police spent 0.36% more time in those neighborhoods. That number is 0.37% for Asian neighborhoods and 0.52% for Hispanic neighborhoods. Also, the research gives ideas for what to study next. Christensen says they haven't looked at how these differences change over time in neighborhoods. She thinks cities can use this data to understand how police actions connect to how people in communities feel about officers, how many people get arrested, and if it affects future crimes or how officers act. Indiana Senator Mike Braun tells IT Mate problems at the southern border are trickling into the Midwest. Braun toured the border with 24 Indiana sheriffs this week. Henry County Sheriff John Sproles was one of them. He sent us video of barbed wire fence on the Texas side of the Rio Grande River. Braun claims the same number of people living in Indianapolis are crossing the border every month. He also claims some of them are bringing drugs that make their way to Indiana. Braun has called on Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to resign. The White House says it's deployed more than 23,000 agents to address border conditions. In contrast to Braun's claims, immigration officials tell NPR that 90% of fentanyl seized at the border comes from people allowed to cross into the United States, more than half being American citizens. An Indiana judge has set a hearing for next Tuesday to consider arguments on the state's abortion ban. Planned Parenthood is asking the judge to broaden exceptions to the ban. Right now, the only exceptions are for rape, incest, and to save a mother's life. As we've reported, the Indiana Supreme Court ruled earlier this year that there is a right to abortion in Indiana Constitution, but the judge allowed the law to take effect. IT Mate is looking into a potential breakthrough in cancer treatment developed by researchers at Purdue. It's a compound known as TP1L. Scientists say it's different than other treatments in that it works on the inside of cancerous cells, not on the outside like most conventional therapies. The lead researchers tells us it also stimulates the body's immune system to fight the deadly disease. Researchers say the new compound will face both animal and human trials before it could receive final FDA approval for marketing and sales. Happening today, President Joe Biden is set to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping in San Francisco. Biden has said he hopes to better the strained relationship between the U.S. and China. He also said he wants to be able to communicate with Jinping if there's a crisis and ensure the country's militaries are in contact. The pair is set to talk a variety of topics, including military tensions and China's disinformation campaign, climate change, and narcotics trafficking. To the Pacers, a win and a loss as Indiana beats the top team in the East, but Jalen Smith ends up in the hospital. He took a blow to the head in the second quarter and ended up on his knees, then went in for tests. The Pacers have not given an update on his injury yet. Tyrese Halliburton led Indiana to the victory with 33 points and 15 assists in a game that had extra importance because it was part of the in-season tournament group stage. Final was 132-126. The Pacers lead Group A with a 2-0 record. Up next, a home matchup against the Magic Sunday. IPS has approved a new 2-year labor contract for teachers. According to our partners at Chalkbeat Indiana, the contract includes an average of a 3% raise and more time off. The contract increases starting pay to nearly $52,000 this school year, with another raise next year. The district says teachers will also receive 2 floating holidays each school year. Those can be used for any religious holidays IPS does not recognize. A new pilot program gives additional pay if teachers have to give up their prep periods to cover another class. Israeli military forces are now inside the largest hospital in Gaza, and camps are set up outside after a morning raid in search of Hamas militants and leaders. The raid forced hundreds of patients, doctors, and people seeking shelter to leave Al-Shifa Hospital. Doctors tell CNN they were given a 30-minute warning before the Israeli troops entered the complex. The Palestinian response, the health minister calls it a new crime against humanity, medical staff, and patients. The hospital had already stopped functioning over the weekend with dwindling supplies and a lack of electricity. Yesterday, morgue staff dug a mass grave on the grounds of the hospital. Under international law, hospitals are protected in times of war, but Israel claims Hamas is using people as civilian shields and operating beneath the structure. Israel says it only raided specific areas of the hospital and tried to avoid harming patients. This morning, leading senators are weighing in on a hearing that dissolved into an extraordinary confrontation in Congress between a senator and a witness. It happened yesterday in a meeting of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. Here's what happened when Senator Markwayne Mullin read a tweet from the head of the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, criticizing Mullin.
You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be 2 consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on. Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution every poll?
No, sit down. Sit down. Okay.
You're the one. You're a 100.
Senator.
Should be the most influential people in this country making changes.
Senator
You're focused on.
Okay.
You're focused on debate that's not even relevant. You're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment.
They went silence after
an embarrassment to the state of
This
Oklahoma.
hearing is about the condition of the working class in America.
That's why we're talking.
You're the biggest thug here.
You brought him in.
The two hurled insults at each other for about 6 minutes as the committee chair, Senator Bernie Sanders, tried to cut them off. Sanders says there are too many issues to solve for confrontations like this.
We pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Climate change is threatening the entire existence of the planet. And this is what goes on in a Senate hearing. And that's why, the American people are getting sick and tired of what goes on here in Congress.
Sanders called the fight absurd. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell told reporters it's difficult to control everyone's behavior and it's not his responsibility. In the United States, a demonstration at the nation's capital drew groups from around the country, including at least one from Indiana. The Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis posted pictures on Facebook of the group during the March for Israel. They chanted "Never Again" on the National Mall yesterday. Congressional leaders from both sides of the aisle were also at the rally. Democrat Richie Torres and Republican Speaker Mike Johnson were among those who spoke to the crowd. Speakers denounced the Hamas attack that prompted the war, saying it was part of an international spread of anti-Semitism. House Speaker Mike Johnson's plan to temporarily keep the government funded now heads to the Senate for approval. Johnson reached across the aisle to pass it in the House because 93 Republicans voted against it. The two-part plan funds some federal agencies through January 19th and others through February 2nd. The bill does not include aid for Ukraine or Israel. Johnson says his approach will give Republicans an opportunity for deeper spending cuts in the new year. Indiana lawmakers were split on the vote. Democratic Congressman Andre Carson and Frank Mervan joined Republicans Jim Baird, Larry Bouchon, and Greg Pence in voting yes. The Senate's expected to pass the plan by the end of the week. President Biden has indicated he would sign the bill if it gets full congressional approval. A man in England is now out on bail as he faces charges for the death of an American hockey player, Adam Johnson. Police have not released the suspect's name or age or confirmed if it's the player whose skate did cut Johnson's neck during a game last month. Video of the incident showed Matt Petgrave's left skate kick up as he begins to fall, and the blade hits Johnson. It would be rare, but not unprecedented, for a hockey player to be charged. Johnson's death has prompted a new call for neck guards across the sport. At least 2 youth hockey groups in Indiana are now requiring all players to wear them. The Indiana State Hockey Association shared on social media that youth leagues in South Bend and Fort Wayne are implementing the rule beginning January 1st. The organization says players will not be allowed to play or practice without a neck guard. And a business headline. Starbucks Workers Union says thousands of employees at hundreds of stores across the country will walk out tomorrow during this year's Red Cup Day in what they're calling a Red Cup Rebellion. The union says Starbucks has refused to negotiate in good faith over staffing and other issues. Starbucks executives maintain that the union is unwilling to negotiate. A California judge rejected efforts by social media companies to toss nationwide lawsuits accusing big tech of illegally enticing and then getting millions of kids hooked on their platforms, damaging their mental health. The judge ruled against Alphabet, which operates Google and YouTube, Meta Platforms, which operates Facebook and Instagram, ByteDance, which operates TikTok, and Snap, which operates Snapchat. Climate change could result in a $150 billion hit to the U.S. economy. Consequences will worsen unless more is invested in clean energy and cities adapt to changing environments, according to a federal report. Ski resorts in the Northwest, farmers in the Midwest, and fisheries in the Northeast all face climate-related risks to their local economies. The most powerful supercomputer in the world is coming to life. The machine will be able to analyze connections inside the brain and help design batteries that charge faster and last longer. The Wall Street Journal reports the computer, which is outside of Chicago, will be used by scientists researching cancer, nuclear fusion, vaccines, climate change, encryption, cosmology, and other complex sciences and technologies. This has been your News 8 Daily 8. For Wish TV, I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com and like us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.